Welcome, Chris. It's so good to be back here.
Yeah, David, it's wonderful having you back in Southern California. I've driven that coastal adventure a number of times myself, and you went through some of the most magnificent country, I think, on the planet.
It's dinosaur country. It's really got that feel of brontosauruses walking around and in the jungle, but it's like on the coast, and it's this weird energy.
Yeah, it's where all of the intention that begins on the eastern seaboard of the U.S. finally reaches its climax, and we've got these awesome sea stacks and coves, and the Pacific is, I think, a much more beautiful and dramatic ocean than the Atlantic. So you're getting the best of all worlds in my mind's eye.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I feel like we're all going through that in these last couple of weeks here that we were both gone. I mean, what a wrap up of the last couple of weeks. If people want, they could go back in time to watch our last shows, and the energy shift from then to now has been dramatic.
Oh, it absolutely has been. And there's not that feeling of apprehension that we had as an underlying theme for the last couple of weeks. On Tuesday, this last Tuesday, we had that final transit of the moon moving over Pluto and setting off that T-square to all the activity in Aries. And that was a very dark energy. People may have felt a little depressed or a little inclined to look over their shoulder, wondering if the boogeyman was creeping up on them. So a lot of that tension is dissolving now, and we're going to see a weekend arrive here that's energetic, but filled with a lot of positive energy, I do believe.
Yeah, I mean, here on Friday is the beginning of this Venus-Mars conjunction. And to me, this is one of the most beautiful alignments in astrology. I really feel it as a reset button into our physical manifestation. Also, relationships. This can even be if you're in an existing partnership, really moving forward into a new destination in the relationship, taking things anew. But most importantly, I really believe this is all of us really now starting to understand the new path of our lives, what we feel is the worth, what we feel, the relationship energy again. But I really feel this is a beautiful beginning for our life.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, and the thing I find interesting is we've been playing around, or the universe has been playing around with these yods with the outer planets. And whenever you have yods that involve planets from Saturn out, they're very, very slow moving. So you get this ongoing dispensation of imagery and potential from higher consciousness, because that's what a yod does. It basically is the finger of God trying to point things out to us. And so now those yod, or that one significant yod, which included Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, is finally starting to separate. So we're going to feel less like life is a classroom and a little bit more like life is an opportunity to go frolic in the sun and have a good time.
I think it's great you brought up the yods, plural, because like you said, there's been a couple, and there's been this really slow moving one that you brought up, and it is breaking up. But this is fate. This is fate coming into people's lives. I always look at those yods as fated moments, and this is also fate that steps in when you get the sun, which is this weekend following the Venus and Mars conjunction. So when you have these three together, it's very personal in your own life. Like, you will feel the energy personally. Some of the energy we talk about, you have to really almost go really deep into soul to feel it. But this energy that this weekend, it is very personal. It is right in front of your face. It is very energetic, and it really is starting to focus on the self, us defining who we are, us moving in the new direction. And this really pushes us off, especially because we just left a Sun and Pluto square, which happened, last weekend, which was like the turning point. And then here we are that we just had this week of us really starting to feel it. And this weekend, it really power punches us.
Exactly. Yeah, the finger of God to the sun is the most energized Yod formation, and it undoubtedly is going to leave us with a somewhat refined vision of who we are. You know, and that's, again, what you were mentioning there, is that it's a very personal process, and they are epiphanies that are thrown into our path so that we do wake up and recognize, oh, I am a spiritual being. I really don't have the limitations that I've been accepting in my life. I'm ready to transform. I'm ready to take the next step. And with Mars and Venus in harmony, well, you know, the possibilities are endless for this weekend and into the advance of Aries.
What is also beautiful about this is Mercury. Mercury finally back at 18 degrees, right pretty much where it went retrograde, that 18-19 mark. So this weekend, as we come into that Monday area, Mercury has finally returned to the space to cover what the last month and a half really was, which was signs from the universe. That's what I really believe Mercury was here doing, also finding ways to flow with spirit, but having our mind get more spiritual. It was a force of spirit. Like, stop worrying about the details of all this shit, pardon my French, but really learn to go with the flow and pay attention to the signs. There are signs everywhere in your life. And this weekend, because we're moving forward in a new self and because we're taking the new direction, thank God that we've got all the signs from God to know where to go. You should know. You should not have many more questions left, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. And again, you know, we were in that shadow of that retrograde all the way up until this weekend.
Yeah.
And there was a sluggishness. Even though Mercury was traveling direct, it was still very sluggish, the energy around us. And now we're going to see things that have been postponed. We're going to get communication from people we've been waiting to hear from. So we'll begin to see that mobilization in communication and social interaction that Mercury always gives to us. So now we're at a point where the only thing that is bogging us down a little bit is Saturn moving retrograde, but everything else in the heavens is advancing in a forward motion, and that's very significant too.
It is. And, you know, we're getting ready, though, you know, in the next couple weeks here for Pluto to go retrograde next. So as we step into this week, especially with all this power, we're lucky to have Pluto. This really lets the transformation happen in our lives. This lets the intensity be there that we want. So I really feel, because the energy is going to move into Taurus and kind of do the same thing. But here in Aries, Pluto is direct. So this is the most impacting change that really could happen. And it is very personal to our own self and our own lives. And this is us also right before a new moon. The new moon is coming up this week. So this week, wow, whatever happens this week, this is I've been saying in my horoscopes, this is a moment in a week that will define who you are for the next couple of years. I really believe that in myself. I know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of that is processing. You know, the new moon gives us a period there as it goes into that dark of the moon phase, 12, 18 hours before it goes new, to resolve the past and allow it to disintegrate, allow it to dissolve away. So people really should be aware of this coming new moon and prepare themselves in an appropriate fashion so that they can release not only the last 28-day cycle, but the last couple of years of all these different patterns that you're ready to outgrow now.
Well, I think you bring up the best point of the dark moon, because it's going to conjunct Mercury, and Mercury in the new place, you know, where it hasn't been for a while, after this shadow of the retrograde. And we really at least get to feel things out of what we're trying to understand, what the signs from God really have been, you know. This is like this really interesting, you know, moon in Pisces that we come into Sunday, Monday energy, because it's like, this will really have us feel out the signs that there have been while Mars and Venus are still following each other. So, you know, Mars and Venus do this beautiful little dance for a couple degrees, and I'm so happy that the moon in Pisces gets to hang out with Mercury for it, So there is all the clarity that you need, but it's not mental clarity. It is spiritual mental clarity.
Yeah, it's multi-leveled, and a lot of insights can come to the surface under these configurations. The other thing I'm looking at here that I think is kind of fun is we're going to have, on Sunday, we'll be watching the moon transition over that Neptune-Chiron conjunction in Pisces. So having that nice little stellium of the moon, Neptune, and Chiron clustered there, even though it's a brief passage, it still gives us a sense of optimism. And it's a very good trigger for healing, for releasing old wounds and absolving yourself of guilt, forgiving other people. So Sunday could be a very surprising day, even though the planetary movements are not huge. That nice little stellium could set off a whole new direction as to what you feel has value in your life.
Yeah, but on a funny note, the moon will be in Pisces, so I think it's interesting, and it is a dark moon. So there could be this feeling as even though things are moving forward, you can't emotionally feel stuck. It's going to force you to not feel stuck emotionally, to pay attention to the signs and become clear and not be wounded. You know, like let go of these emotions and these sensitivities off maybe feeling the wounds in your life, or especially maybe feeling like you're confused and you don't see all the signs, where it's like the signs are right in front of you and the signs are in a very spiritual, positive place as we're moving forward. So don't let these emotions hold you back from I'm thinking this is a freight train that's moving forward in our life. So people could get caught up in very sensitive, feeling stuck when there's no need to be. No need to be. Oh,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and I think the release mechanism for that is Uranus. It's going to continue to tighten that square to Pluto, and that's volatile. So the first part of next week, if you're not paying attention, you could end up, parking your car on the street there, and as you take 3 steps away from it, that piano falls from the 3rd floor and flattens your ride there. So there is a little bit of an edge this coming week, but not nearly as intense or as compelling as some of the last squares and oppositions have been.
Yeah, this new moon is going to be so powerful. I mean, we're leading up to it with a Pluto-Uranus square that, like you said, is starting to get tighter and tighter. This is going to really start banging more events in the world. I think this whole North Korea thing has been interesting, but I don't think that's anything compared to the really out of nowhere bangs that are really going to be coming. I mean, this is going to be some gnarly energy, and I think this is going to be a powerful new moon to set the intention to where this is where you ride out the energy where you want to go. Whenever you have Mars and Venus combined, this only happens once every 2 years. And I always feel that this does set the trail of the values and the kind of partnerships you will be in for 2 years. It really does. And it's like, take this and go with it and ride it out, because the moon is going to be so close. This new moon is going to be next to Mars and Venus.
Absolutely. And at the same time, we've got this interesting sextile with Jupiter and Uranus. And that's going to be factored into all of this energy too. And sextiles make the energy even more immediately accessible for us. So there could be some sudden events, a turn of events that expand so fast that you really don't know where you're going to go with it or where you're going to end up with it. So again, not to be negative, but I'm just saying be present during this coming week and watch that activity of things getting out of control, because they very easily can.
Oh, this energy, especially because it is really intense and personal. Whenever you have the Sun, Mars, the Moon, and Venus, and they're all pretty still close to Uranus, but those are personal planets where you feel them in your core. You just it's all around you. It's all around you energy. And Aries forces you to be your own tough person. Like, you have your own confidence. Like, you can't be weak in the knees, especially because Pluto does rule the knees, right? In Capricorn right now. Pluto and Capricorn rules the knees. Like, this is where we need to have strength and we need to move forward. You know, we can't crumble at the knees of the structure of our lives. We need to push forward into the self. So those who have strength, those who have courage, love this kind of energy. Those who are weak, those who are sensitive, can be very sensitive to it.
Oh, right. And that's when you want to make sure that you're calling on your spiritual reinforcement. You know, this is a good time to do invocation and call forth the Christ presence, or, you know, the Virgin Mary, or whatever it is that you relate to, Ganesh, any of these entities that is higher consciousness trying to manifest as our protectors and our benefactors. If you're feeling a little bit queasy this week, this is a time to invoke those symbols of having reinforcement from higher consciousness acting as your source of substance.
And you know what's funny is, I think that you're on the money, because Uranus and Saturn make a really weird angle to each other. They do a little quincunx, which can be this really weird feeling in it all. It's kind of a Yod energy without the full Yod, because this Yod is still kind of, there is a Yod that is almost formed with Saturn, Uranus, and Jupiter now. But this is some weird, I think what this is showing that with Saturn and Scorpio, you know, the new lines that you draw, but the new emotions that you are finding your desires in, you know, have to be implemented in this weird way of defining who you are now. Like, if you're going to move forward, like, you can't forget about the serious nature of the universe only wants us to invest into what we truly desire in our lives. And that's it. There's nothing that will really work as far as the new self that's born. If it's not based off what you truly want to be, what you truly want to do, you can't bullshit yourself anymore. Is what I see this is that it can be hard if you're living in a false sense of self, if you're not living in a true emotional desire, the same that sex is, you know, like, you better really want to be the self that you want, the same as how you want to have sex with a partner. Like, that's the energy. If it's false, or if it's, you know, facade energy, ooh, it will break hard.
Right. Yeah, a quincunx, or an inconjunct, is an energy that shows us where we can never really expect complete resolution. So it gives us the image of who we fantasize about being, but we can never actually fulfill that role. So when it's highlighted, it's time to step out of that false identity and to advance and move forward into an identity you can fully embrace and implement in the moment.
Yeah, and I think it's finally time for us to understand that, because Mercury getting ready to leave Pisces as we leave this week, you know, but Mercury's moving really fast now, caught up speed again. So our minds are really starting to figure things out, and Mercury in Pisces is beautiful. I'm so glad it did an extended stay here, because it really became clear of your true inner self. And I'm so happy that our mind is not in Aries for all this stuff that happens this week, because our egos could have probably gone too far. But our mind is actually stuck in the true self and is reminded of the true self. And I think that that is so important with this crazy, weird configuration, to make sure that you remember your true core being, you remember your true core soul, and you bring this into the new self.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about Mercury moving through Pisces like that, especially in the latter decade, you know, in the last 10 degrees, you get a surge of creativity, and you'll find that whatever artistic bent you have, whether it's music, desire to express an imagery, All of these different formats for artistic revelation and expression is going to have an extra edge too. So you'll find that urge to be creative coming up too.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we leave the week with the moon in Taurus, which stables it all out pretty nicely. Kind of grounds us. It's going to oppose Saturn, but it's going to try and Pluto though, and I really feel because there's a lot of personal stuff happening throughout the week that we come into Friday of next week in a very chill place, very, you know, starting to really feel the new footing of the new self that has just been born over this week. I really see this as a birth this week of a new baby of self, like a new self really plopping out.
Oh, it absolutely can be. And Thursday is a day when we'll have a clear vision of that new self, when we do have, you know, that four planetary, very close cluster of the sun and the moon and Mars and Venus
Mm-hmm.
in Aries there. So yeah, the true identity that we're seeking is we're gonna reveal it to ourselves in many ways.
Yeah, and this also has to deal, you know, with relationships. I really feel that this week, well, you could meet the most amazing partner of your life, or on the same token, you know, the ones that you're in reach a new level, or you leave some as well.
Mm-hmm.
This can be very optimistic, though. I would focus more on the positive of relationships this week.
Yeah, I think overall we've got a really nice week. Like I said, it gives us an opportunity to regroup, catch our breath, get a breath of fresh air, without a lot of one intense configuration after another after another. It's a mellower passage, and I think people by the end of this next week are going to be feeling like, oh, spring's finally here. Let's go plant some flowers. You know, let's get out and run in the woods. So it's a nice passage into the birth of this coming year.
Oh, I'm so excited. What do the cards say?
Well, yeah, we got so wrapped up in our astrological conversation here.
I'm looking for, I kind of like this. I want to see what it all says here in the cards.
Well, it shows over the weekend, don't make any rash judgments. This is a period of observation, contemplation, observe the world around you, and there will be a clear sense of which path is correct for you, and that'll start to reveal itself on this weekend.
Ooh.
So, Two of Swords, the mind is analyzing, fractionating, getting things together. Then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, as we move forward, we have the Magician, and that's Aries. You know, that's all of that alchemical, let's take our resources at our fingertips and transform our universe as well as ourselves. So very positive, creative energy coming up from Sunday forward into the week. And then as we hit the midweek, we switch over to the other side of the spectrum, the Libra energy, the balancing out, and arriving at a point where we're able to discern what really has meaning for us, and then get rid of the rest of it so that we can advance without that extra clutter. So overall, I would say the cards are reiterating that this is a positive week, and it's all about you.
Will you pull one more card for just the overall of it all?
Absolutely. Oh, interesting. It's also a week of meditation, Four of Swords. So that inner, deeper communication is going to be the force that actually you can implement to achieve your dreams and desires, and to advance into, into good times. Final card here, Three of Cups, celebrate life. Time to get out there and party.
That all makes so much sense as an astrologer seeing the event. And, you know, I feel that we're all right now channeling our higher self so good. If you're really open to the energy right now, the psychic energy is like so clear as a bell. And everything that we just went over and your cards, everything, I just see all that. It's just, it really actually, that Three of Cups there really shows, that's the energy I felt overall. But that that Four of Cups, you know, or that Four of Swords, that also felt so apparent to me. Like there is this like deep, there is such deep spiritual energy about this week, but it overall has such life and beauty to it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be a good advance forward into spring, and it's going to give everybody a feeling of security again, because for the last few months, we've all been kind of on tippy toes, not sure when the bomb was going to go off behind us, and now that's finally over, at least for a while here. We don't have any you know, unexpected disastrous things vectoring us off into new directions.
No, not until the end of 2013 and the beginning of 2014, when Mars goes retrograde and Venus goes retrograde. It's not gonna be bad, but you know, there are the changes that we are doing now to kind of look forward big time for people is so apparent, because they're really gonna, this is a forward wind for us all. Our sails are setting into new directions right now, and this is the excitement of where it goes. And there's lots of treasures out there for people to go find. But this is us getting ready to find those right ships to go find our treasures. So
yeah, and at the same time, when the appearance of these retrogrades come back into play, Pluto will have advanced further into Capricorn, and that's when we could see some major changes in policy in the United States, because this is going to force us to reinvent what America actually is and how we participate in America. So another 9 months before we really begin to get vectored off in that direction, but it is all part of this change.
Well, I'm so glad we're back doing this. You know, a lot of it was my fault, but I love you, buddy, and thank you so much. I can't wait for next week.
Yes, absolutely. It's great having you back, and now you can just chill for a couple of days and enjoy those memories from traveling up and down the coast.
I know. Yeah, I'm actually going to put out a really cool video of my whole journey and what the whole last month was about. I have so much footage to go over. It's crazy, but
no, it's going to be fabulous, though. Well, I love you too, kiddo. And all of you people that are checking out the video for this coming week, have a great time. Get out there, share the love, pass the love around, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Bye, Chris.
Bye, Dave.